So, you ever wonder how a drug lord buys a private jet? Or how a corrupt politician manages to hide a fortune? It's not just about getting away with the initial crime. It's really all about what happens after. Today we're going to dive deep into the shadowy world of money laundering to see exactly how dirty money gets clean.
So what do you think is the biggest problem for a really successful criminal? It's probably not what you're thinking. It's not about dodging the cops or outsmarting a rival. Nope, their biggest problem is this, the cash. Just piles and piles of physical money. I mean, think about it. You can't just stroll into a real estate office and try to buy a mansion with millions of dollars in small bills, right? That's going to raise some serious red flags.
And that is exactly where a second, absolutely essential crime comes into play: money laundering. It's basically the whole process of making dirty money look completely legitimate. And you gotta understand, this isn't some small-time thing. It is literally the engine that makes all other major criminal enterprises profitable. Without it, huge operations like drug trafficking, massive fraud, or political corruption, they would just grind to a halt. Okay, so how do you actually wash $1 billion? Well, it's a surprisingly organized process. It's basically a three-stage wash cycle, if you will, designed to make illegal cash completely untraceable. Let's break down that first step.
All right, step one. This is the first and, honestly, the riskiest challenge of the whole deal. You just have to get all that physical cash off the street and somehow deposit it into the legitimate financial system without setting off a million alarms. This stage has a name. It's called placement. And this is the most vulnerable part of the entire scheme because you're dealing with bulky, suspicious, actual cash.
So, criminals have a few classic tricks to pull this off. They might break up huge sums into lots of smaller, less noticeable deposits that fly under the radar. That's a practice called structuring. Or they'll just buy high-value goods like antiques or precious metals, things they can easily move or sell later.
But, getting the money into the bank, that's just the first hurdle. Now the real washing starts. It's time to make that money get completely and utterly lost.
The goal of this next stage, called layering, is to create a paper trail so complicated and so confusing that it becomes almost impossible for any investigator to follow it back to the original crime.
I mean, just look at this. The goal here is to create pure financial chaos. They build this incredibly tangled digital web of transfers and investments that's designed to be so confusing that nobody can figure out where the money actually came from.
This involves shuffling the money through just a countless number of transactions. It gets wired between different banks, funneled through anonymous shell companies, often in offshore havens, and sometimes it's even temporarily parked in stocks or bonds. Anything to hide who really owns it.
But even a web this complex isn't perfect. It leaves behind digital breadcrumbs. And investigators, they're trained to spot the red flags. Things like a whole bunch of small incoming transfers, followed by one single, massive outgoing wire, especially if it's headed to a known secrecy haven.
So after all that work to bury the source, the money is finally ready to re-enter the economy. This is the home stretch. This final stage, integration, is the payoff. This is where the criminal finally gets to enjoy their profits, because the money now appears to be completely legitimate. And this is where it all comes full circle. That laundered money, now looking perfectly clean, comes back into the economy to buy things like luxury real estate, financial ventures, or even just to fund seemingly normal businesses. And just like that, the transformation is complete. What started out as, say, a duffel bag full of illicit cash has now become a high-value, legitimate-looking asset, completely integrated back into the everyday economy.
So why should we care about this complicated financial game? I mean, it seems so far removed from our daily lives. Well, it turns out it has very real consequences for all of us.
Yeah, it's really easy to write this off as some kind of victimless, white-collar crime, but that could not be further from the truth. Its effects are devastating and incredibly widespread.
It's what allows criminal organizations to thrive and become more powerful. It corrupts our institutions. And it really hurts honest businesses that just can't compete with a front company that's secretly subsidized by millions in illegal cash.
Ultimately, what it does is create a system where crime pays, and that undermines the stability and the fairness of the entire global economy.
At its very heart, it's a crime of deception, a crime designed to enable things that are much, much worse.
And because this is such a threat to the integrity of our entire global financial system, governments and international bodies are constantly working to build stronger and stronger defenses against it.
Which leaves us with a really crucial question for the future. In a world of instant digital payments, of cryptocurrencies, how does the fight against money laundering change? It's a constant cat and mouse game between the launderers and law enforcement, and it's only getting faster and more intense.